The rust collector's struggle. The wind howled through the endless wasteland, carrying the scent of rust and decay. The land stretched far and wide, covered in broken machines, shattered starships, and the bones of a forgotten war. This was Sector 9, a graveyard of old technology, a place where only the desperate dared to live. Liam Carter, a scavenger, moved carefully through the wreckage. His boots crunched over rusted metal, and his gloved hands searched for anything valuable. He was thin, his face covered in dust, and his clothes patched together from old uniforms he had found in the scrap fields. Life as a scavenger was harsh. The people in the nearest settlement barely had enough food and water. The only way to survive was to find something useful in the wreckage and sell it to the Tech Guild, the traders who controlled what little wealth remained. But finding valuable scraps was getting harder every day. Liam wiped sweat from his forehead as his scanner beeped weakly in his hand. The small device, old and scratched, flickered as it detected a faint energy reading nearby. His heart quickened. Energy readings meant functioning tech, and functioning tech meant money. He followed the signal, climbing over twisted metal beams and broken chip panels. The scanner's beeping grew stronger as he reached the base of a massive ancient starship half buried in the ground. Its hull was cracked, and vines had started to grow through its broken windows. Liam had searched hundreds of ships like this before, but something about this one felt different. He entered through a large hole in the side of the ship, moving cautiously. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and strange markings covered the walls. He pulled out a small flashlight, its beam cutting through the darkness. The scanner's beeping became rapid, its screen flashing unknown in erguisos edt. Liam frowned. Unknown. That was strange. Most wrecked ships had power cores or broken data drives, but nothing his scanner couldn't identify. He followed the signal deeper inside. The corridor led him to a sealed door, covered in alien symbols. His heart pounded. He had never seen markings like these before. Curiosity took over. He placed his hand on the cold metal door, brushing away dust. Suddenly, the symbols glowed faintly, and with a low hiss, the door slid open. Liam took a step back, his breath catching in his throat. Inside the dark chamber, surrounded by dim blue lights, was a cryogenic pod. The glass was fogged over, but Liam could see a figure inside. He stepped closer, wiping the glass with his sleeve. His eyes widened. Inside the pod lay an alien. It had smooth silver skin, a slender body, and glowing blue markings running along its arms and face. Its eyes were closed, and its chest rose and fell slowly, as if in deep sleep. Liam swallowed hard. He had never seen a living alien before. Stories of the war between humans and the alien races were common, but that war had ended long ago. Most believed all the aliens had vanished. Then why was this one here, in a forgotten wreck? Liam's mind raced. If he sold this alien to the Tech Guild, he could be rich beyond his dreams. But something about this felt wrong. Before he could decide, the pod shuddered. Liam jumped back as the glass cracked slightly, and a warning light flashed red. With a final hiss, the pod opened. The alien gasped, its body shivering. Its glowing blue eyes fluttered open, locking onto Liam. Liam froze. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then, in a voice weak but clear, the alien spoke. "Help, they're coming." Liam's stomach twisted. Who was coming? Before he could ask, a loud metallic sound echoed from outside the ship. Liam's heart pounded as he heard something moving in the wreckage, and it was getting closer. Hunted by the unknown, Liam barely had time to react. The alien's glowing blue eyes locked onto his, filled with fear. Its voice had been weak, but the urgency was clear. "Help, they're coming." A chill ran down Liam's spine. Who was coming? Then he heard it, a deep mechanical hum. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't the metal shifting under the weight of the wreckage. Something was out there. Liam's instincts screamed at him to run, but his legs wouldn't move, Instead, he did the one thing his survival instincts told him never to do. He hesitated. The alien coughed, struggling to sit up. Its silver skin shimmered under the dim blue lights of the broken cryopod. It looked fragile, weak. Liam had no idea who or what this being was, but right now, it was in no condition to fight. The hum outside grew louder, turning into a shrill beeping noise, like a machine locking onto a target. Liam snapped back to reality. He grabbed the alien's arm, pulling it up. "Can you walk?" The alien winced, but nodded weakly. Boom! The entire ship shook as something heavy slammed into the wreckage above them. A sharp metallic screech echoed through the corridors, followed by the unmistakable sound of mechanical footsteps. Liam cursed under his breath. Drones. Not the Scavenger kind, the hunter kind. These were military-grade machines, programmed to eliminate threats. And right now, that meant them. The alien swayed, barely able to stand. Liam had no choice. He threw the alien's arm over his shoulder and half-dragged, half-carried it out of the chamber. The halls of the ship were darker now, dust falling from the ceiling as the structure trembled. Liam knew this wreck wouldn't hold much longer if someone was actively searching it. His mind raced. Who sent the drones? The Tech Guild didn't use hunter drones. The local warlords preferred mercenaries. That left only one answer: off-worlders. Someone with serious power wanted this alien dead or captured. Liam gritted his teeth. Bad news. A red laser sliced through the dark corridor, missing his head by inches. Liam didn't wait. He ran. Behind him, metal crashed as a sleek, insect-like drone crawled through the broken ship's hull. Its red eye pulsed like a heartbeat, scanning for targets. Liam sprinted, gripping the alien tight. They reached the exit, a jagged hole in the ship's hull. Beyond it, the wasteland stretched under the dark sky. Liam could see the remains of his hoverbike parked behind a pile of wreckage. If they could make it. Another laser sliced through the air, hitting the metal wall beside them. The drone had found them. Liam cursed, diving behind a broken console. He turned to the alien, whose breathing was ragged. "Can you do anything?" he whispered. The alien's glowing blue eyes flickered. It raised a trembling hand, its fingers glowing faintly, but then faltered, falling back against the wall. Liam muttered a curse. No backup, no weapons, just his own two hands. He peeked over the console. The drone hovered just outside the room, scanning the area. If it locked onto them, they were dead. Liam made a choice. He grabbed a rusted metal pipe from the ground, gripping it tightly. If he couldn't run, he would fight. The drone's eye flickered, detecting movement. It turned its body, aiming its laser. Liam lunged forward, swinging the pipe with every ounce of strength he had. The metal crashed into the drone's sensor, sending sparks flying. The machine jerked back, its aim thrown off. Liam didn't stop. He swung again, smashing its fragile wiring. The drone crackled, its red eye flickering wildly before failing completely. It collapsed, twitching, its circuits fried. Liam panted, hands shaking. That was too close. But he had no time to rest. The first drone was down, but if there was one, there were more. He turned back to the alien, still slumped against the wall. "Come on," he muttered, throwing its arm over his shoulder again. "We need to get out of here." With effort, he dragged the alien through the hole in the ship's hull. The cold night air hit them as they stumbled into the open wasteland. Liam's hoverbike sat a few meters ahead. If they reached it, they could escape. A deep mechanical growl filled the air. Liam's blood turned to ice. From the shadows of the wreckage, 2 more drones appeared. Their red eyes glowed like burning coals. And this time, they weren't alone. A tall, armored figure stepped out from behind them, its metal boots crushing the rusted ground beneath. Its helmeted face turned toward Liam. A distorted voice echoed through the wasteland. "Surrender the fugitive. Now." Liam tightened his grip on the alien. He had one choice: the escape and the secret power. Liam's heart pounded as the mechanical voice echoed across the wasteland. Surrender the fugitive. Now. The armored figure stood tall, flanked by two deadly drones, their glowing red sensors locked onto Liam and the alien beside him. Liam had no plans of surrendering. Without a word, he grabbed the alien tighter and bolted toward his hoverbike. The wasteland exploded behind him. A laser blast struck the wreckage, sending burning shards flying in all directions. The heat singed the back of Liam's jacket, but he kept running. 5 steps. The hoverbike was just ahead. He could see the control panel flickering, waiting for activation. 3 steps. The drones locked onto him, their weapons charging. 1 step. Liam lunged forward, slamming his hand onto the bike's ignition. The engine roared to life just as a plasma bolt whizzed past his ear, barely missing him. He didn't wait. With a powerful kick, he launched the bike forward, gripping the handlebars tight as they sped into the darkness. The alien slumped against him, barely conscious. "Stay with me," Liam yelled over the rushing wind. A robotic voice behind him sent a chill down his spine. Target escaping. Engage pursuit. The drones shot into the sky, their thrusters igniting as they took chase. Liam gritted his teeth. He had no weapons, no shields, no backup, just a half-broken hoverbike and an alien who looked like he was about to pass out. The wasteland stretched endlessly ahead. The ruined skeletons of war machines and rusted ships littered the landscape, but there was no cover, nowhere to hide. Liam twisted the throttle, pushing the bike to its limit. The drones descended fast, their red sensors flashing. Then the shooting started. Plasma bolts sizzled past, kicking up sand and metal shards around him. One blast struck the side of the bike, causing it to swerve violently. Liam fought to steady it, his hands slick with sweat. One more hit, and they were dead. Then the alien moved. Liam felt a weak hand clutch his shoulder. He glanced down for a split second, just enough to see the alien's eyes glowing brighter than before. The air around them shifted, crackling with unseen energy. Liam felt it in his bones, like an invisible force pressing against reality itself. Then, suddenly, the hoverbike lurched forward, moving faster than Liam had ever seen it go before. The engine screamed, but it wasn't braking. It was changing. The controls vibrated in his hands as the bike's broken circuits repaired themselves in real time. "What the hell?" Liam muttered, glancing back. The drones tried to keep up, but their sensors flickered wildly, confused. The alien's voice was weak, but firm. "Hold on." Then, with an invisible shockwave, the hoverbike shot forward like a comet, leaving the drones struggling to keep up. Liam could hardly breathe. The bike was flying, almost gliding, as if it were riding on something other than air. The drones fired wildly, but their blasts couldn't reach them anymore. It was as if the laws of physics had shifted, bending around them. Liam's mind raced. What the hell did this alien just do? The landscape blurred past. The chase continued, but the gap was widening. The drones, unable to match their speed, slowly fell behind. Then, in a burst of white energy, the hoverbike vanished into the night. The betrayal and the revelation. The hoverbike lurched back into reality with a sudden jolt, skidding across the rocky terrain before coming to a rough stop. Liam gasped for air, his hands trembling on the controls. His heart was still hammering from the impossible speed, the blinding energy, the way the bike had moved like it was alive. What the hell just happened? He breathed. Behind him, the alien slumped against his back, its glowing blue eyes dimming. "Had to break their lock," it whispered, its voice barely audible. "Too much, too fast." Liam twisted around, catching the alien before it collapsed off the bike. "Hey, stay with me." He shook him slightly, but the alien's head lolled to the side, exhaustion pulling it under. Liam clenched his jaw. Whatever just happened, it saved their lives. But it also meant something worse. Whoever was after this alien wouldn't stop now. And Liam needed answers. The hidden bunker. He scanned the landscape, recognizing an old path leading toward an underground hideout, an abandoned scavenger bunker once used by those who didn't trust the tech guild. Liam wasn't alone in this business. There were others, veteran scavengers who had spent years digging through the ruins of old wars. And if anyone had a place to hide, it was Dax Carter, his former mentor. Liam had worked with Dax when he was younger. The old scavenger knew every secret in the wasteland, every broken warship, every lost weapon. If anyone could help him figure out who was hunting this alien, it was him. The bunker's entrance was buried under a rusted-out dropship. Liam pulled aside a hidden metal panel, revealing a keypad. He punched in an old code. Beep. The ground rumbled. Dust shook loose. Then, with a low mechanical hiss, a hidden door slid open into darkness. Liam didn't hesitate. He pulled the alien onto his shoulder and stepped inside. The door sealed shut behind them. The unwelcome reunion. Dim yellow lights flickered on, illuminating the bunker's interior. The place was cluttered. Workbenches covered in half-repaired tech, walls lined with old weapon parts, the scent of oil and metal thick in the air. And sitting at the center, hunched over a worktable, was Dax. His grizzled face twisted in surprise as he looked up. "Well, I'll be damned," he said, setting down a rusted plasma rifle. "If it ain't Liam Carter." Liam didn't waste time. "I need help." Dax's gaze flickered to the alien slumped against Liam. His expression darkened. "That's not human." "No kidding," Liam snapped. "Someone's hunting him. And they've got drones that move like war machines. I need a safe place, just for a while." Dax exhaled slowly, rubbing his jaw. "That's dangerous company you're keeping, kid." Liam didn't flinch. "You always told me the best scavengers don't just take metal. They take knowledge." He gestured to the alien. "Well, here's your chance." Dax studied the alien for a long moment, then finally sighed. "Put him on the table." Liam laid the alien down gently. Dax pulled out an old scanner, waving it over the unconscious body. The screen flickered with strange symbols, text that wasn't human. Dax's face hardened. "Dan, do you even know what you found?" Liam crossed his arms. "That's why I'm here." "Who is he?" Dax set the scanner down. His voice dropped to a whisper. "He's not just an alien. He's the key to lost technology." Liam's pulse spiked. Dax leaned in. "You ever hear the stories? The old war between the colonies and the off-worlders. There were rumors that certain alien races had tech that could control machines with their minds. Weapons that weren't just built, they were grown. Technology so advanced, it made human warships look like scrap metal." Liam glanced at the alien. His mind flashed back to the hoverbike, the way it had moved like it was alive. "He did something to my bike," Liam muttered. "It was breaking down. And then suddenly, it wasn't. We outran military drones." Dax's expression darkened. "That's because he's one of them," he said. "And if someone's after him, it means that old war, it ain't over." The betrayal. A loud beep suddenly echoed through the bunker. Dax turned to a small security console. A blinking red light flashed. Liam's gut twisted. Someone was outside. Dax looked at Liam, his expression unreadable. "I locked this place down. No one should be able to track us." A cold realization settled over Liam. Unless someone told them where to find us. Liam's hand moved toward the knife strapped to his belt. "Dax, what did you do?" Dax didn't answer. A metallic thud sounded from the bunker entrance. Then another. Liam backed away, reaching for the alien. "You sold us out." Dax exhaled. "It ain't personal, kid. You know how this life works." A final thud. Then the door exploded inward, and the hunters stepped inside. The race against time. The bunker filled with smoke and fire as the entrance exploded inward. Liam barely had time to react. The force of the blast sent him crashing against a metal shelf, his ears ringing from the impact. Sparks rained down from the ceiling, and the air thickened with dust. Through the haze, dark figures stepped inside. Mercenaries. Not drones this time. These were real killers, heavily armored, their visors glowing red, each carrying a weapon far too advanced for the wastelands. And leading them was a man Liam had only heard about in rumors. A towering figure in black war armor, his chest marked with a crimson insignia. His helmet retracted with a hiss, revealing a scared face, cold eyes that looked through Liam like he was already dead. Commander Kor. Liam's stomach dropped. This wasn't some scavenger raid. This was an execution. Kor's voice was like grinding metal. Step away from the fugitive. Liam's mind raced. He was outnumbered, outgunned, and Dax, the man he once trusted, stood on the other side, silent. The betrayal still stung, but there was no time for anger now. He glanced toward the worktable where the alien lay. Zyrek's breathing was shallow, his glowing blue eyes flickering like a dimming light. He was too weak to fight, which meant it was up to Liam. He had one choice: run or die. The standoff. Liam's fingers twitched toward his belt, where his shock blade rested. Kor noticed. He gave a slow, amused smile. You think you can win this, Scavenger? Liam clenched his jaw. I don't need to win. I just need to leave. Kor's soldiers shifted, their rifles clicking into ready position. Dax finally spoke. Kid, don't be stupid. He gestured to the mercenaries. They're giving you a chance. Walk away. Liam let out a bitter laugh. You mean like you did? Dax's face hardened, but he didn't deny it. Kor tilted his head. You misunderstand, Carter. We don't want you. His eyes flicked to Zurich. We want him. Liam tightened his grip on the knife. Yeah. And what do you want him for? Kor gave a slow, cruel smile. To finish what we started. Liam didn't need to hear more. He moved. The fight. With a snap, Liam's shock blade ignited, blue energy crackling along its edge. He lunged forward, slashing at the nearest mercenary. The blade tore through armor, sending the soldier crashing backward. Chaos erupted. Gunfire roared through the bunker. Bullets and plasma bolts sizzled past Liam as he ducked and rolled, kicking over a metal crate for cover. Zurich stirred, eyes fluttering open. He saw the battle and winced, struggling to sit up. Liam barely had time to glance at him. Not the best time to wake up, buddy. Kor advanced, unfazed by the gunfire around him. His soldiers moved with military precision, closing in, pushing Liam toward a dead end. Liam's mind screamed. Think. Move. Find a way out. Then Zurich raised a trembling hand. The air shifted. A strange energy pulse rippled through the bunker. The overhead lights flickered, and suddenly, every machine in the room came alive. Gears turned. Screens glowed. Wires sparked with raw energy. Then, the bunker's automated defense turrets, once dead for years, suddenly activated. And they weren't aiming at Liam. Kor's men barely had time to react before the turrets opened fire. The escape. Liam didn't hesitate. He grabbed Zurich and hauled him onto his back. We're leaving. Now. Dax shouted something, but Liam didn't care. With bullets and plasma flying, Liam sprinted toward the maintenance hatch, a backup exit used by scavengers when things got bad. He reached it just as a turret round exploded near Kor, forcing the commander to dodge. Liam twisted the hatch's release valve, kicking it open. Cold night air rushed in. Behind him, Kor's furious voice echoed through the chaos. You can't ruin forever, Carter. Liam didn't look back. With Zurich barely conscious on his shoulders, he disappeared into the wasteland, leaving the bunker and his past burning behind him. The final battle. The night air was electric, charged with tension, dust, and the weight of the inevitable. Liam's legs burned as he sprinted across the wasteland, Zirek barely conscious on his back. Behind them, the bunker was in flames, the echoes of battle still raging inside. The mercenaries had been caught off guard, but Liam knew it wouldn't last. Kor wouldn't stop hunting them. Liam gritted his teeth as the rocky terrain cut into his boots. The wasteland stretched ahead like a cruel joke, open, exposed, nowhere to hide. And to make things worse, a low mechanical hum filled the air. Liam's gut twisted. Drones. Again. From the darkness, 3 hunter drones shot out of the sky, their red sensors locking onto him like vultures hunting death. A cold voice crackled through the comms, laced with amusement. "You didn't really think you could escape me, Carter." Liam cursed under his breath. Kor's voice. "The drone's dove." Liam barely had time to react before the first plasma bolt burned past his shoulder, kicking up a shower of dirt and rock. Zirek stirred weakly. "Liam." His voice was faint, but there was something urgent in it. Liam ducked and swerved, narrowly avoiding another blast. "Not now, buddy." Kind of in the middle off. There. Zyrek's weak hand lifted, pointing toward the horizon. Liam glanced up and saw it. A starship. Not just any ship. An old war frigate, half buried in the desert, its metal hull rusted but still mostly intact. A relic of the ancient battles that had turned this planet into a scrapyard. Liam's mind raced. If that ship still had power, if Zirek could do his weird tech magic again, they had a chance. The run for the ship. Liam pushed harder, his lungs burning. The frigate loomed ahead, its open cargo bay like the mouth of salvation. Behind them, the drones adjusted their aim, their laser sights locking on. Liam knew what was coming. "Zirek," he shouted, "if you've got anything left in you, now's the time." Zyrek's glowing blue eyes flickered. His hand trembled, then snapped outward. For a split second, everything went silent. Then, a pulse of energy exploded outward from Zyrek's body. The air shimmered, the ground shook, and the 3 drones short-circuited midair, their red sensors flickering before they plunged out of the sky, slamming into the ground in fiery wrecks. Liam didn't stop to admire the view. He sprinted up the loading ramp of the frigate, just as the engines of an approaching dropship roared behind them. Kor was here. The showdown. Liam slammed his fist against the control panel inside the ship. "Tell me you can fly this thing, Zirek." Zirek winced, forcing himself upright. His hands trembled as he reached toward the ship's main console. The ancient system flickered, its controls alien, unreadable, but Zyrek's fingers moved over them like a man returning home. Lights flickered on. Engines hummed to life. The ship was waking up. Liam exhaled, then froze as a new sound filled the cargo bay. Heavy, deliberate footsteps. He turned. Kor stood in the open ramp, silhouetted by the burning wasteland behind him. Alone, unshaken, unstoppable. His voice was quiet but sharp as a blade. "Step away from the controls, Carter." Liam's grip tightened on his shock blade. "Not happening." Kor sighed. "You're wasting your time. That thing you're protecting. It doesn't care about you." He took another step forward. "Come with me. You hand over the fugitive, and I'll let you walk away." Liam's jaw clenched. "And what? Watch you kill them?" "No thanks." Kor shook his head, almost disappointed. "Then you die here." In a flash, Kor lunged, his movements inhumanly fast. Liam barely got his blade up in time as Kor's plasma sword came down. Sparks screamed as metal met metal, the force of the strike knocking Liam backward. Kor pressed forward, his strength monstrous. Liam struggled against the weight, his muscles burning. Kor's eyes gleamed. "You're outmatched." Liam gritted his teeth. "Yeah." And then he did something stupid. He let go of his blade. The sudden lack of resistance threw Kor off balance, just enough for Liam to duck, pivot, and drive his fist into Kor's ribs with everything he had. Kor staggered back, not from pain, but from shock. No one ever dared to fight dirty against him. Liam didn't hesitate. He grabbed his blade from the floor, flipping it into a reverse grip. One chance, one move. Kor recovered fast, but not fast enough. Liam drove the blade straight into his side. For a moment, neither of them moved. Kor looked down, his expression unreadable as blue energy crackled through his armor. Liam exhaled, stepping back, gripping his aching ribs. Guess I'm not outmatched after all. Kor stumbled slightly, but instead of falling, he laughed. Then, he activated a detonator on his wrist. The ship's interior flashed red, warning alarms blaring. Liam's stomach dropped. Kor smirked. If I don't get him, no one does. The final flight. Liam turned to Zurek. Can you get this thing in the air? Zyrek's eyes blazed with blue light. He didn't answer. He simply placed his hands on the control panel, and the entire ship roared to life. The engines ignited. The old warship shook as it powered up, metal groaning from the force. Kor took a step forward, then stopped as the floor beneath him shifted. Liam smiled. Time to go. With a deafening blast, the ship launched into the sky. The explosion triggered behind them, consuming the battlefield in a fireball. The last thing Liam saw was Kor's furious face disappearing beneath the flames. Then, they were free. From Scavenger to Savior, the stars stretched infinitely beyond the ship's cracked viewport, a vast ocean of darkness speckled with distant suns. Liam had never seen space like this before. Sure, he had looked up at the night sky 1,000 times from the wasteland. But now he was in it, floating in the void. A scavenger who had spent his life clawing through rusted metal was now piloting a warship older than history itself. And he wasn't alone. Zurek sat at the control panel, his glowing blue eyes flickering in the dim light. He was weak but alive, his silver skin still marked with the strain of the battle. The ship's engines hummed softly, stabilizing after the chaotic launch. The old frigate had survived centuries buried in the wasteland, and yet, somehow, it was still flying. But the damage was done. Liam leaned against the cold metal wall, exhaustion hitting him like a crashing wave. His ribs ached from Kor's attack. His mind was spinning. He had won. And yet, for some reason, he felt far from victorious. The final revelation. A flickering hologram blinked to life on the main console. Zurek exhaled shakily, his fingers hovering over the glowing alien symbols. This ship is more than just a war relic, he murmured. It holds something dangerous. Liam frowned. Define dangerous. Zyrek's glowing eyes met his. This ship was not built for war. He gestured to the walls, to the console, to the entire vessel pulsing with unseen power. It was built to end one. Liam's stomach twisted. What are you saying? Zurek hesitated, then activated the hologram fully. A shimmering star map unfolded before them. But instead of planets and trade routes, it showed something hidden. Something buried deep in the old war archives. Liam narrowed his eyes. What am I looking at? Zyrek's voice was quiet. The last technology of my people. The thing Kor and his masters wanted. The hologram zoomed in on a distant, unknown system. A machine that can rewrite reality. The choice that changed everything. Liam rubbed his face, his exhaustion momentarily forgotten. So let me get this straight, he said, pacing. We just barely survived Kor, escaped an explosion, stole a warship, and now you're telling me we have a map to some kind of god-tier machine. Zurek nodded. And now that we activated the ship, the signal has been sent. Liam stopped pacing. To who? Zyrek's expression darkened. To everyone. Liam let out a long breath. Of course. The moment they escaped, they hadn't just saved themselves. They had painted a target on their backs bigger than any bounty ever placed on a scavenger. The Tech Guild. The warlords. the off-world factions, the silent powers that still whispered behind the remnants of war. They were all coming. For this ship. For Zurich. For him. Liam exhaled sharply. So, what do we do? Zurich studied him carefully, then said, "You tell me." And that's when it hit Liam. This entire journey, he had been running, reacting, surviving. But now he had a choice. Go back to the wasteland. Hide, sell what he had seen to the highest bidder. Go back to being no one. Or, he could see it, the path forward, the fight that wasn't just about survival anymore. For the first time in his life, Liam wasn't just some scavenger picking through the remains of greater men. He had a reason to stand, a reason to fight. He grinned, shaking his head. Guess we're gonna need a crew. Zurich tilted his head. A crew. Liam turned toward the viewport, staring into the endless dark. Well, he said, cracking his knuckles, if the whole galaxy's coming for us, might as well give them a damn good reason to regret it. The ship's engines flared, and with a burst of light, the Scavenger became something more. A savior. A legend. And the story. It was just beginning.